Hey guys, welcome to this Heart of the Swarm replay brought to you here by Panda and Rifkin. If you guys want to find us on Twitter, you can find me at Riff_Kings with a Z on Twitter. Panda is at BadFatPanda. But let's talk about the players in this game. So we have HOTS and Mario playing on Daybreak, and again, this is Heart of the Swarm, so we're going to probably get to see some interesting new play. Spoiler free, as neither of us have actually watched this replay yet, so it'll be really interesting to see how this shapes up. Spawning here, though, in the lower left corner of Daybreak, it is none other than the Red Zerg, FXOHappyZerg, aka FXOHappyZerg.
Yep. And his opponent spawning across from him, it is the Blue Terran HTOMario.
And if you guys want to take a look at the bottom of the screens here real quick before we get into too much of this game, I have included both of these players' Twitch channels. If you want to catch them streaming, they both actually stream quite a bit, and more importantly have some pretty decent music on their channels. So that's twitch.tv/FXOHappyZerg and twitch.tv/HTOMario. Now you're guys going to hear Panda and I maybe refer to the Red Zerg player as FXOHappyZerg a few times in this game. He was originally HOTS, then swapped to FXOHappyZerg, and is now once more HOTS. So yeah. Please just understand, ooh, a little bit of drone miscontrol there. Please understand that if we do say Slavic, we are in fact referring to the Red Zerg player.
I would hope so, unless there's just like a random ZvT. Then it could get a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I don't know if you got that.
I'm waiting now to cast Live Zerg versus HOTS now that he has changed his name back.
Zerg versus
one of these
Zerg.
Zotacs, man. It's gonna happen.
Well, Live Zerg actually isn't appearing in too much of the Zotacs. Slavic's kind of fallen off a bit too. I think a lot of the players are just kind of like, all right, man, it's time for Wings of Liberty to just come to an end. Yeah. Yeah,
it's really interesting now, like watching the transition even over the past couple of weeks from like on Team Liquid you have Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Storm, Wings of Liberty, and then now it's just like Heart of the Storm, Heart of the Storm, Heart of the Storm.
Well, it's getting so close to that release date. I mean, this is still in the beta, guys. This isn't like a post-release replay by any means, but you know, beta has been played so much it might as well be released, let's be honest.
Yeah. There's not anything all too just game-changing. Even this is way more balanced than the first couple, I would even say months of Wings of Liberty post-release.
Oh yeah, the Warhound? Who misses that unit? All the Terrans. Nobody else.
Yeah. I don't know. I still think that they should like put a unit in to fill that role, but we'll see what Mario does. He's going for Reapers right now. I would assume, considering he's on 2 gas, that he's going to add a factory as soon as he has 100.
And it's so weird. That barracks, naked bear, creating Reapers, man.
Yeah. I still will not get used to seeing that at all. I scouted a proxy the other day, and it was like 2 racks. I was like, okay, Marines. I put a bunker up. 3 Reapers come into my base. What?
Well, it's funny too, because like, despite the fact that they do have low damage, it's their high mobility of the Reaper that is the scariest thing.
I really like the Heart of the Storm Reaper. I think it's way more effective than it was in Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, they don't get to like necessarily one-shot the workers, but they live way longer, they've got the regen, and they can move so darn fast. I mean, these are the only units in the game that come close to contending Speedlings, but not even. I think Speedlings are still faster, if I'm not mistaken.
They are. Yeah. Especially on creep. If you stay a little bit too long after you scout gas, you will pay for it. So did Mario end up scouting the Roach Warren? No, he did not. He saw the gas, though.
Yeah, the Zerglings actually chased him off a little bit quicker than I think was necessary, as there was not a queen out yet. Now, here he goes in round 2, gonna poke a little bit more. Now, of course, the damage he takes right now is kind of irrelevant. As long as these Reapers get away with 1 health, they're just as good as being full health, because we're gonna see here in a sec the combat drugs kick in, and man, it's like having a medevac in the early game. Look at that.
Yeah. He definitely needs to scout this Roach Warren, though.
Yeah,
it's not like Slavic is using this defensively. He will go across the map with this.
He should see these roaches.
He can't commit to it too hard
yeah.
because of Widow Mines, but...
Yeah, well, the Watchtower may not have scouted the Roach Warren, but he saw the roaches, so he can't put 2 and 2 together. Now, it does look like Mario's going for that in-base CC. I like this. It's kind of really risky to put it on the low ground unless you're going for it super early and plan to ward off something with like a bunker. But since he has none of that at home, I do like that he's putting up on the high ground, especially with these roaches traversing across the field.
Yeah. Slavic's not committing too much to this. He's actually keeping his drones, the majority of his drones, at his main, instead of spreading out his saturation to avoid Reapers doing all too much damage. But the armory is still a far way off here, and he only has Hellions to defend. So these roaches might get a supply depot or so.
Oh, I kind of like this. If he's going for that Hellbat drop, it's been pretty significantly nerfed, I feel. A lot of players really griping about whether it was effectively nerfed or not, but I gotta say from my own experience on the Heart of the Swarm ladder, only 2 Hellbats versus 4 makes such a big difference.
Yeah, because you can actually defend it with a higher Hellion count, which is something that would not occur otherwise.
Well,
like, you don't even have to transform them, you don't have to worry about how you engage, because the mineral line itself poses a lot of risk to, like,
Panda,
trying to micro against Hellbats that are already dropped in position.
This, the supply depot does go down to Mario's base. He did move all the Hellions out. He's going to transform them and try and ferry them into the main of Slavic, but I mean...
And those Widow Mines are out of position, so he's going to get a fair amount of SCV kills with this.
They have been pulled. He's going to try and focus the Widow Mines. They do burrow very slowly without those tunneling claws, but he should save us. But his own Widow Mines splashing the SCVs. Meanwhile, in this opponent's base, the Hellbats have been dropped, but they also are being cleaned up very effectively. Let's check this. Both players not getting more than 2 workers, so I mean, not too bad. Resources lost, definitely a little bit heavier on Mario's side, as he did lose the medevac as well.
And this third CC is completely necessary. At this point, Slavic, he doesn't have a third base yet, but after successfully defending that Hellion harass, he's in a really good spot.
And it does seem like Mario is going to go for that mech sort of build with those extra 2 factories. Now, I don't know, like, the really cool thing about all the new mech units, and I'm saying all the new mech units referring to Hellions being revamped, and like, Widow Mine's really being the only new mech unit, but the thing is, they're so hard to deal with in the early game. Sure, you get the Overseer out eventually, but I mean, it's still that threat of like, you can't blindly move across the field. One Zergling like this will try and scout, but it's going to get sniped off.
Yeah. I have to say that I dislike the way that the Widow Mines are placed. I find it
They're ineffective, yeah.
Yeah, I find it a lot more effective to just spread them out in a line rather than have them clustered up like this. Because that way you'll have to burn multiple potential Overseers to try and take these out, which is really, really valuable.
Slavic coming across the field with 4 more roaches, and these 4 Widow Mines should have no problem cleaning them up.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I do like that
free active while when they get over there.
I do like that our Terran player also has a Viking out in the field roaming around for these Overlords, unfortunately missing the ones that are near his base, though.
Yeah. And we do have Pneumatized Carapace complete for Slavic, so he will actually get a full scout off in his opponent's base with these Overlords.
Pop, pop!
Overlord actually sacrificed.
Yeah. Doesn't get a whole lot of information. But okay, Mario's starting with the tanks, and of course in Heart of the Swarm you don't need that research, so it's really nice having those tanks good to go. And yeah, another Overlord being sacrificed.
Is just sacrificing like multiple Overlords at this point for very little scouting information. That must be a misrally.
I would assume so, because yeah, look, he's got all the Overlords coming home now. He's like, alright, I made a mistake twice now, not again.
I got this. We do have a Spire up. It's important to note here. Already off of 4 gas. His third isn't quite complete yet. Third base timings are the most changed thing in this matchup from a Zerg perspective, from the translation between Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm.
The most interesting thing for me here, though, is not only is he going Spire, he's also going Infestation Pit. A lot of Zerg players right now are very keen on Mutalisks for Heart of the Swarm. They're really darn effective. They're a lot more, like, you can retain them so much longer thanks to that regen now, but you often see people just completely skip the Infestation Pit. Actually, oh, Panda, we've got Enduring Locust coming on the way, so are we going to see Swarm Hosts?
Something that's really, like, there are 2 things that you need when you go for Swarm Hosts. You need Swarm Hosts and you need something to kill Banshees. Because Banshees with Raven support will absolutely destroy Swarm Hosts. So you need something to try and pick off the Banshees. That can be Corruptors, that can be Hydralisks. If you're going to go Roach Hydra late game, you're generally going to stay on Layer Tech until you need access to the 3/3 upgrades. And you have an Infestation Pit, so really whenever you have gas, you can throw it in there.
Oh, well,
but it's
really
really,
cool.
really important that you have both.
Well, with 3 Swarm Hosts on the way, I'm really excited about this, because a lot of players have been shying away from these units, and I really feel they shouldn't. I mean, at the most they're really getting used right now is like a little bit of background support for like a main army of, say, Roaches or Hydras, but I feel that Swarm Hosts can be very powerful if utilized correctly.
They're ridiculously strong to buy time until you get your Hive Tech up. And they really allow you to deny bases, but a lot faster than you would normally have Broodlords. Because that's really their purpose. I mean, they're a long-range siege unit. And we do have a Widow Mine drop coming into your Slavic's main base.
With the Spore Colony, though, and the Spine Colony, you shouldn't have too much trouble with this. Now, this was something pointed out to me in the AHGL last week. I don't know if you've ever looked at the back of a Swarm Host, but it looks kind of gross at first, until you mention that each of these are a speaker, and they're basically having like a party.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of, actually, with the, when I saw the unit design.
Oh, Panda, hold the phones. We don't have a Widow Mine drop. We've got a Thor drop coming. What the what? This isn't something I've seen in a long time. But, I mean, this Thor's going to pick up a couple drones, chase out this base, even get the Queen if it wants.
Yeah. I really like this. This is something that I've been using recently in ZvT. Just because Hellbat drops, after they were nerfed, really don't have the supply cost efficiency to take out hatcheries, and like you don't want to donate that much supply because you need a lot of medevacs to make that work for you too.
Man, Widow Mines, Hellbats, both here in the main taking out a lot of drones of HappyZerg. So many workers have fallen at this point. Oops, didn't mean to close that.
Yeah, and with this we still have a rather large worker advantage for Slavic.
The third base
hasn't been producing SCVs.
The third base is about to fall to this Thor. What the heck?
And that's a big win. He needs something like this because he's just establishing his third base now, just getting a PF on it.
Oh, well, this is really not looking good for Slavic. I mean, he's got all these swarm hosts on the field, sure, but what is he going to do with them? Because right now, he's lost the base, he's lost a ton of workers, another Thor drop attacking this base, and there's no real anti-air to deal with this medevac.
Yeah.
This is actually really well played by Mario. I've never seen this level of harass from a mech player, but it's really refreshing to see.
He does have a fair amount of Hellions moving out here. I don't know if he's going to try and assault the front of the third base.
Does he have Blue Flame yet? Not that I guess it's too relevant versus Roaches. No, no Blue Flame. But of course, Blue Flame versus Workers is some nice roasty toasty.
Yeah. These queens have a fair amount of energy though, so they can actually attack this. Ooh, not after that Widow Mine hit though.
And some transfuses being used immediately. Alright, Queen's gonna tank some of this initial damage for the Roaches, but the Roaches, I mean, there's enough of them here, he should be able to clean this up.
Very nice flank there by Slavic. Great positioning for the engagement.
Ooh, actually we got an attack on the PF, and actually the Widow Mine triggering on these Locusts, but there's just too many of them, Panda.
They take too many to refresh, but the Locusts will definitely win out there.
Oh
unless
my
you have
goodness.
a ridiculous amount of mines.
We got Locusts versus Hellions as well back at home. Now Mario's producing, I believe if I read that correctly, 5 tanks at a time?
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually Vikings landed here at the reborn third base, gonna take that down again. Hellions do get cleaned up, but they do pick up a couple more workers.
The PF is actually getting pretty low, considering it's just under attack by these Locusts. Another wave or so, unless he pulls more SCVs, this is going down.
Oh, actually, nice siege on those siege tanks. He's gonna lose one of them at least, but they do catch most of those Locusts. Does he know where they're coming from, though?
Yeah, he has an idea, and here we go. There's the scan.
Yeah, real nice pickoff here by Mario. He's gonna. These are such expensive units too. Like the reason they're so effective is because they're so expensive. I think they're like what 250, 100. Let's check the larva here real quick. Oops. Yeah, 200, 100 for a Locust or for a Swarm Host. I mean, that is not a cheap unit to give away like that.
Losing a lot of tanks there. I really like the positioning of the Swarm Hosts. He has a couple up on the ramp near the fourth base.
Yeah, north and south.
That continued harass on the third base as well.
I like this. We got Swarm Hosts coming from 3 different directions right now, Panda, but these tanks are in such a nice position. They don't really care. They're shelling away at these the Locusts before they can even get in range.
Once the Swarm Host count gets up enough, though, we will see these tanks take damage and eventually get destroyed.
No, actually, the
3
Thor
more rallying
eating
forward here, and there is a hive in production behind this, as well as 7 additional Swarm Hosts. So Slavic is really going like hardcore.
Yeah, this is so weird. Like I said before, a lot of times we see players go for a couple of Swarm Hosts with their army, not super dedicated like this. With Slavic, man, he is making Swarm Hosts the main component of his army. 21 currently on the field.
Yeah, they're really effective versus Mech. Not so much against Bio, so you don't see them in play all that often.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, Mario's turtled up very nicely at this 4th base location. Nothing's really going to break this anytime soon, but this also means he can't move out. The second he unsieges any of these tanks, that's going to be it. The Swarm Host will get in there. Oh man, this is actually really cool. Like, only in Heart of the Swarm will you ever see a Zerg player siege up, I guess, against a Terran player like this.
Yeah. And behind this, we do have Slavic saturating his 4th base here. He should be taking a 5th sometime soon. His hive is complete, Greater Spire on the way.
The Northern Swarm Hosts are going to be taken out. I gotta say though, like, I kind of wish he had synced up the Locust spawns. Like, he was sending one wave and then the other would come, so the tanks had plenty of time to sort of change around. Maybe if he had just done one at like both at the same time. But okay.
He might actually overcommit with these units. No, the Hellions do get away.
Yeah, scanning for that creep tumors at least. I don't know why though, because the Raven is there. But I mean, these bases are still under attack. He can't ignore this. I mean, the Queens, the Roaches,
the
they tried
are actually going to snipe this Raven out if enough energy for PDD doesn't go down within the next few seconds.
Get a Seeker Missile off before you die! No!
And that's a big win there. Now there's no detection. He has to rely on scans for it.
Oh, we do have Corvid Reactor on the way as well, so we might see more Ravens in production shortly.
And this is really important, because he's just adding starports now. The Greater Spire is almost done. And look how many tanks are on the field.
Oh yeah, if there's a Broodlord transition,
Yeah.
there's just zero chance of Mario getting back into this. He doesn't have any anti-air whatsoever. But, I mean, look at these things go unsieged. They just don't care. Traveling right through the Swarm Host minefield.
Yeah, and through this he has enough back here to actually defend against these Locusts. So Slavic tried to move up, but he realized that he can't. There are just too many tanks defensive there. He has to wait until their Broodlord's out, but he's making 7 more Swarm Hosts.
The Planetary Fortress is still under attack. In the meantime, while the worker count is even, a lot of workers, or Mario's workers, are being spent on repairs.
For that, yeah.
Yeah. Now this nice siege up should be able to pick up a couple more Swarm Hosts here. Yeah, it brought a little too close to the tanks. But I mean, like, this is a beautiful move by Mario. He knows he needs to get on the offensive. Slavic, though, with 11 more Swarm Hosts on the way. Yeah. I don't even understand, Panda. This is insanity. Because he knows his opponent has, like, I gotta say, like, 50% of his supply in ground-only units. A couple Mutalisks even would change this game.
Once you commit a certain amount of gas to siege tanks, and you have that mass on the field, Swarm Hosts are quite ineffective, unless you catch an opponent's army unsieged with very little support. I think that this gas would be better spent in Broodlords, but here we go, Slavic trying to break the line. These Queens pretty full energy are holding up pretty well, but they just don't have enough to take on all of his tanks.
Yeah, and the Swarm Hosts in the south are actually getting demolished at the exact same time, so I mean, he had some nice map control, kept Mario at home, but all of a sudden Mario's breaking free and kind of crushing everything that Slavic has right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I've given up trying to say HappyZerg at this point. I feel kind of bad. Yeah, I mean, it's been a recent transition. I'm sure I'll eventually change to it, but this
One thing I want to note, though, is that Mario's SCV count is really, really, really high. He's starting to add in orbital commands for macro purposes at this point, which means that he really should be sacrificing some of them. Look at 83 SCVs.
Yeah, that's way too many SCVs. And for those who are curious what Panda and I are talking about, because maybe you're a Zerg player going like, wow, more workers is more power. I mean, really, with a mech build, all you really need is the gas. These minerals, whatever. Throw away. Who cares? I mean, look at his bank right now. He doesn't even need to spend them despite not being
This could be a crucial engagement here, outside of the 4th base of Mario.
Oh, man,
the siege tanks are way late to siege, and the Roaches, as well as the Locusts when they initially come in here, are going to do so much damage.
Yeah, the Roach scores free units. Does not matter if they go away. They're kind of the new infested Terrans.
And he has +3 ranged attack with that, too.
Well, Locusts have, what, base of 12, I think?
I believe so, the Locusts.
Trying to catch one, but they're getting blown up too quick. Yeah, so 15 damage on each of these shots. Not too bad.
Yeah. That missile attack really, really helps the Locusts out quite well.
And meanwhile, we actually have Corruptors being cleaned up by Vikings. Not something I see too often.
Not until the reinforcement comes in here.
Yeah.
Corruption's still a pretty good ability.
I like this though. This is kind of like one of those tug-of-war maps. The middle of the map has had the most contention. There hasn't been a lot of damage in the bases for either of these players. I mean, the workers picked off were from earlier on. For the last 10 minutes, there's been this real back and forth through the middle part of the map.
And despite the fact that Slavic has that 5th base up, he's just now saturating his gas geysers there, and we see Mario getting his. So, I mean, really, the Terran's been ahead on an economic front for the majority of this game.
I really feel like this game, Slavic, he's really over-dedicating to these Swarm Hosts at this point. Like, they did some cool stuff for him early, but as you said, like, Corruptors, I mean, they're going to take out the air, and with no anti-air, all you need is, like, a single Mutalisk, one Broodlord to take out all of these tanks.
Yeah, he needs to stop dedicating the gas to Swarm Hosts, but I think he's making that transition now. We see Flyer Carapace on the way. He does not have a second Spire, but we see additional Corruptors in production.
Yeah,
and this is really important for Mario, too, that he has this Viking count, that he has this Raven count.
Well,
it's a lot more important than it is in Wings of Liberty.
We also have to keep in mind the actual straight-up tech path is really behind for Slavic. He didn't go for any of those melee attacks. They're all invested in range, so... I mean,
we do see a Roach sacrifice here in the main base, trying to pick off some add-ons, and it will be quite successful.
Oh yeah, if he can get all these tech labs, this is going to severely cut Mario's chance to reinforce, but currently he's maxed and not losing a thing, Panda.
Here comes a big engagement, though, and the Corruptors are actually outnumbered by the Vikings here in this engagement. 4 Broodlords are morphing, however, and they will do a fair amount of damage to the tanks.
Vikings kiting is actually proven to be very effective. What the heck? I think he might actually win this engage.
High Corruptor count, it's difficult to engage head-on like this in equal numbers, especially with those initial 2 PDDs that he threw down.
Well, normally we'd expect as well, like, you know, the Queens with those transfuses would have cleaned this up, like, entirely, but no.
The Queens are taking out the remaining Vikings, and... Oh, no, 2 more are actually rallied over.
But Panda,
and now
the main base...
7 Corruptors waiting to spawn here for Slavic. He's gonna lose all of his Broodlords in the process.
But the Broodlords lost or not. Look at the main base of Mario. He's not cleaned up these Roaches at all.
And he doesn't have any additional production structures going down to support this. And even the 4th base is getting gutted now by Roaches.
I mean, both players actually taking some pretty severe losses from this counter aggression. I guess it's not like a game-ending base trade, but that was kind of a base trade scenario, I guess.
And we have 30 lings in production right now. Those will clean up these tanks with ease. And
definitely.
Mario can't afford to lose this, because this is like his last bastion of hope in this game, is keeping these siege tanks alive.
Oh man, they all get corrupted as well at the same time. Well, we actually have to transition to a lot of Widow Mines here. They have started to clean up the main base. This one command center is starting to burn. SCVs barely get to it in time, but he lost his 4th base. He's got the 5th up and running. It's a PF, so he should be able to hold off these roaches if he repairs. But I mean, Slavic did so much damage in that counterattack. I think way more than Mario did to him.
Absolutely. And that was really important for him too, because in that, Slavic used his entire bank. But Mario still had the gas, still had the minerals to really keep up production if those roaches weren't debilitating his production structures.
Yeah, I mean, like, Hellions being reproduced right now, I mean, that would be kind of super devastating, because as you said, neither of these players can really afford to do too much. Their gas counts are actually kind of a complete foil of one another. Look at that.
And without the range, he can't actually attack with the PF on these roaches, so he does need to dedicate units over here. Bring some Widow Mines in. Yeah, these corruptors are just camping out.
The tunneling claws are ridiculous. They're basically an instant bro. He actually kills some of his own mules in order to clean that up, but it's okay because he got rid of the roaches.
Yeah.
But okay, Thor's actually coming into the transition point for this. I like this. He saw that the Broodlords were on the field. Widow Mines, of course, also very good against Broodlords. This, I think this was like a Bronze League gif. I don't know if you saw it, Panda. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, so close. Widow Mines really want to get those corruptors, but I think it was either TVZ or TVT, but there's basically that giant air army, and what one of the Terran players did was make like 90 Widow Mines, rush them underneath, and just insta-burrow. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult to handpick them out in a big engagement, regardless of your race, regardless of what you're playing, because you're going to have units that overlap. In TVTs, in late game VC engagements, you can see this used to great effect as well, but it looks like Slavic is going to continue to put pressure on here, and you really need to be careful of those Widow Mines, because that can definitely turn the game.
I like the choice of the Viper too, by the way. This will not only give him the option to pull a Raven or a Thor away from the rest of the army, but more importantly, he's got that, what's this ability called? Blinding Cloud, which I believe does in fact affect Widow Mines when they're burrowed?
No.
No?
It never affects, because Burrow, it's an ability that it's not like an attack.
Okay, I just heard that from somebody. I never actually
everything
seen
else,
it used,
so. Our Vipers are ridiculously good against mech compositions. But with, I think, let's see, take a look at the unit counts right now. We have 9 Corruptors on the field to 5 Ravens and 11 Vikings. So with the air superiority here, the Vipers aren't really going to be able to do much.
Well, at the very least, they will be able to cut the Thor damage down from that ground attack. And I mean, the Thors, of course, now have that awesome new single-target anti-air ability. Although I gotta say, the splash damage against large numbers, I feel, is still a bit more effective.
Yeah, in 90% of situations, you're gonna want to favor the splash damage. Because even in late game, if you're up against like a Protoss versus Terran late game Protoss army, the Void Rays, the Tempest, they'll clump up. Unless you're in like really low econ situations and like random base trades that have kind of like this game.
Yeah, this has been. It's really weird too, because these players, despite being on these same bases, they're not mined out yet. They haven't really needed to go through these middle bases. We do have HappyZerg establishing one, but I mean, this isn't necessarily. Like if he has this base, if he loses this base, it's not going to change the course of the game. I feel it's the engage itself that's really going to determine what's going to happen, because both these players are really getting their supply up, and so much of Mario's supply is in Widow Mines. If he burrows these under the mass amount of whether it's Broodlords or Corruptors, they're going to go down so quick.
But Hydra army, which will absolutely be nullified by PDD. He does need to be careful about the friendly fire with these Widow Mines, though.
That's a good point, Panda. Now we do have so many point defense drones down, but you gotta keep in mind, Hydras attack so fast. Look at that energy getting eaten up so quick.
The Widow Mines, though, they're so good at zoning. I mean, they're ridiculously effective in what they do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Ravens, the PDDs, the Widow Mines, they did what they needed to do, and they got this base down. Mario does not want Slavic having as much mining as possible.
Yep. We do see Swarm Host now. Again in production for Slavic here, as well as 10 Corruptors. And he does have a couple Infestors in the field too, which will be really important against the Widow Mines to prevent them from moving forward.
Well, he's got some Vipers with this. I think he's going to try and pick some of his army apart. That nasty grab.
Yeah.
He's got to be careful though. There's a lot of Vikings. Yeah, these Corruptors go down immediately. They just don't have the air attack, Panda.
It's really difficult in this like kind of low economy situation to determine what to spend your gas on. And Slavic needs to be a lot more careful about that than Mario, because he already has a big Raven count. Those will just continue to get better as the game goes on. They'll continue to regain energy.
Ooh, Viper's not really getting anything there. No grabs, no blinding clouds.
And that's a lot of gas invested there. And we have continued Thor production, which I think is good in some situations. Against Mass Roach, definitely not. But against the composition that we see out of Slavic right now, yeah. Hell yeah.
I think it's interesting too because, I mean, Thors, you gotta keep in mind, like, they're gonna blow everything on the ground apart. Like, these Hydralisks are just gonna get flung left, right, and center. It's just as good as Heavy Siege tanks, but more importantly, they double over as the anti-air.
Huge fungal on every single one of the Vikings goes down, and here come the Corruptors. PDDs need to go down.
Oh, can he catch the Ravens? Gets the Ravens with the fungals too! A couple good fungals. He's running the Ravens in for that splash damage. Oh my goodness, the secret missiles it's completely backfiring on Mario right now.
Really good decision making there by Slavic, but he still needs to be careful about these Widow Mines. Immediately blowing up a fair amount of the Hydras. The remainder of the PDDs go down.
But they're immediately used up. The Locusts, the Hydralisks, there's too much attacks, and now there's only a small clump of Thors with very little support. They are going to go down to these Locusts.
Such a good engagement there. By Slavic. He forced Mario to react initially when all the Vikings got fungled. Oh, now he's even losing Ravens, which he really can't afford. Oh
no, he's gonna lose 2, 3. All the Ravens go down along with another Thor! Oh my goodness, Panda, this is... I don't even believe what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Now the cool thing, I really want to, like, give Slavic so much credit for that engage. A lot of people with those 100 secret missiles would either just run away or try and, like, just disengage entirely, but his choice to suicide the Corruptors was the best possible choice, like you pointed out, because all the splash damage backfired on top of Mario's army.
Yeah, he lost a fair amount of Ravens initially with that. They were already kind of low due to the Hydralisks here and there. Continued Banshee production after he lost all of his Vikings and his Ravens is kind of interesting. We'll see if he can make it work, though. The great thing about Banshees, when you're at this like late game scenario against Zerg, is you can use them to snipe tech. They're really, really useful for that. Although I don't believe he has Cloak. A Fusion Core coming down, too.
Oh man, if we could get battle cruisers in this game, that would be awesome. Now, I don't know if you caught that, by the way. Slavic tried to pick up 2 Widow Mines with the Zerglings. They just got burrowed and were like, bye-bye, Zerglings.
Yeah. It was a little sad face moment.
Well,
keep in mind, though, he is still only on +1 melee.
Yeah, his tech for all. I mean, he kind of grab-bagged his tech this game. He went for the range, then he went for melee, then he went for air, and it's kind of like, what are you doing? Pick one, stick with it. But I mean,
feel like the beta we're seeing a lot. Before there's like this huge defined play of, okay, generally Zergs do X now, Y now.
Yeah, it's not easy to catch those transitions. Like before, it's like, okay, he went Ultralisk, probably gonna have Broodlords to follow this up after I counter the Ultralisk. Now it's like, okay, he's got Swarm Host, he's got a million different things he can do. Hydralisk being more viable as well. But oh, I like this. Slavic going for complete map dominance right now. Oh, look at this! Oh my god, so many! What is this, like 16 Swarm Hosts down here? 17, my mistake?
And this is that, I mean, you need tanks to deal with this. The Thors will not cut it. Widow Mines, unless you have a ridiculous amount, they're just not going to be cost effective. Because these are free units for Slavic once you make that initial gas investment.
Oh my god, look how fast the Planetary is going down without building armor. It's Locust. One single round almost does it. Meanwhile, we do have a counterattack coming up here in the northern part of the map. Mario wants to get his own base down.
Going ahead and landing his CC and starting to mule because he's desperately in need of additional minerals.
Yeah, both these players are pretty heavily mined out in their mains, their thirds, their naturals. It's not looking too good right now. I think actually if this comes down to a starvation game, Slavic's a little bit ahead. He's got more minerals than all of his bases.
The Widow Mine's going down.
Oh,
3 Ravens in the process due to this friendly fire.
And he tried to fungal on top of the Widow Mines to catch them. I thought that was really cool.
Alright, so Mario is temporarily establishing this base. Slavic needs to do something to stop this because these 2 bases are really going to be key. Whoever mines these out is really going to control the late game because they'll have had more mineral income throughout the course of the game once it's mined out.
Slavic going to lose his though, but so will Mario. So I mean, this is this whole game has been tit for tat on these 2 particular locations. Now, despite the fact that they weren't fighting over the actual base earlier, this middle of the map, like we could cut out the left and the right side of the map, and this game.
Locusts.
Oh my god, he even knurls a Thor!
This is what I was talking about, and a huge.
Oh my god, that fungal! Point defense turrets are going down, but I mean, he's got the Thor for that extra anti-air damage. Unfortunately, though, the Neural does get killed. But the Locust, there's just so many of them. And look at the suicide bombers coming out of Slavic. He's got the Taliban corruptors on his side.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we're watching Scourge. It's just like with all of these, the Widow Mines, and it's something we're seeing in the pro scene too. In general, not specifically this game, is suiciding either one or a few corruptors to try and take advantage of that friendly fire aspect.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think, like, all of the Terran's most strong, like, the strongest units from Terran all contain a lot of friendly fire. Widow Mines, siege tanks, seeker missiles. It's not a lot of fun if you're not paying attention.
Yeah. And here, 3 BCs are on the way, or
but there's
already
so
on the
many
field.
swarm hosts here, Panda. Man, there's just not enough to deal with this, I feel.
Yeah, the Queens will provide a fair amount of anti-air as well. Infestors, oddly enough, having a difficult time getting into the engagement area.
Yeah, there's just too many. Look at the fungal, it's really nice, but it's not blanketing enough units. It's not enough anti-air. There's some corruptors here, but he's really got to get them in there now.
With the corruptors, he will have enough to fend off this engagement.
But the air tech is still 0 weapon upgrades versus 3 armor. The battlecruisers, despite being corrupted, are not taking that much damage.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, there was a slight buff to the battlecruisers. The Yamato cannon can actually be used twice now. It's 100 energy instead of 125.
It still does the same damage, I believe, right? Yeah, 300.
Yeah.
So still a nasty, nasty move from the Terran.
Interesting. We see Slavic trying to incorporate Zerglings into his army. I think he's just going to go for broke here.
I kind of feel like he needs to. He's not taking, like, he can't establish these bases, and he realizes that. But also, he's got to know Mario's got to be bleeding out at this point. I mean, look at the supply for Mario. It's not really been at 200 for a long time.
Yeah.
He's got SCVs
He's
pulled up
struggled continually to get up there, but even after he lost the Widow Mines, and a lot of that is filler supply too, kind of like roaches.
Well, the Locusts, those free units, man, they're going to assault this fourth once more. Now, there's no gas, and the minerals have been pretty much mined out, so I don't know how much of a victory he's going to get from picking this off.
Yeah, meanwhile, a counterattack coming to try and hit this opponent's base, and this is like a Terran. He needs to wait, he needs to get in a good position, and then he needs to siege up the swarm hosts. He can't react initially like he can with Roach Hydra.
It's actually really scary, though, because, I mean, this ball from Mario, despite it being low in actual army supply, it's not going to be easy to crack. There's Thors, there's a ton of SCVs ready to repair, and the battlecruisers, no less. I mean, as you said, the Yamatos can be fired twice, so, I mean, this is a very scary army. Zerglings...
Scanning on the Lings here, Slavic needs to be careful not to lose these.
Oh, Mario, he's not going to be able to land this base, so there are a lot of Locusts here waiting. It's like watching Gears of War here.
Big fungal goes down on a lot of the SCVs in front there. The Raven energy is used up at this point though, so no more Seeker missiles to come in.
Oh, and there's those Yamatos starting, but I don't know if that's enough. There's a Spore Crawler, there's so many Locusts, and Mario's taking such heavy losses here. Yeah,
Slavic has the economy behind this, and Mario is getting close to mined out. He does have another base, just now established, but he's losing so much of his army in the process.
And here come those Locusts again, there's, like you said, without siege tanks, there's no real effective way to deal with these. And the battlecruisers being picked off a little bit by these corruptors. Again, that armor really coming into play, keeping them alive.
This is like a Protoss army just retreating, and you losing all of your Colossi in the process.
Can you imagine if Mario had mass recall this game? This would be so different.
Mech would be so broken.
Yeah, as if it's not hard enough to pick apart as is, but...
Like, I've never played anything other than Mech, but I would say with that, they would just be really, really, really good.
But I mean, look at the supply differences right now. Both players taking such heavy losses, but Mario not being able to recoup his losses is the bigger point.
Yeah.
Slavic pretty much broke, though he's struggling to get some drones out. Neither player really has a high worker count right now, but Mario is mining from this base. Slavic is not. These Hellions will chase most of this off. Hellbat's even being morphed in as well. Sorry, transformed in.
These free units are the greatest thing ever in low economy situations because your opponent has to constantly trade actual units that cost gas, that cost minerals. And as long as you can keep them alive, these Storm Hosts are just so effective.
Oh, Panda, there's no more Ravens on the field at all. There's no way for this Banshee to get in there and pick it off, even if there were no Corruptors.
Yeah, he has to work on scans, and even, I mean, he's lost so many orbitals in the process here. I think he has 2 left. Yeah, 2 left on the field.
Panda, what is, look at the top right, the main base of Mario hiding in the starport. What? I don't even... Slavic preparing for a weird base trade, I guess. Get those drones, get those drones! Yeah, these Locusts are going to pick off this last remaining Thor, and I feel like with this Thor going down, so the hope of Mario's army really making a comeback to this.
A group of Battle Hellions up in the 12 o'clock expansion actually killed all but 2 queens here.
Actually,
they did unfortunately die in the process, though.
I was gonna count Mario completely out, but you know what? Slavic's forced the long distance mine. He literally has no bases with minerals or gas. Oh, he's got a little bit of gas left at this 4th, but I mean, he's broke. These swarm hosts are all he really has. He doesn't know whether Mario's got tanks up or not.
Yeah. I think it's to the point though where Slavic he just has too much of a lead in the army.
Oh, definitely.
It's something that his opponent can't really rebuild a effective enough army to take this on, and then go on to try and proceed and kill all of his tech, kill his additional economy.
This mining train coming out of Slavic is disgusting to look at. This is how many drones? It's all like 49 of the drones long distance mining.
Yeah, he's mined out all of his gas geysers elsewhere on the map.
He needs some bunker mining tactics, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, another orbital gonna go down
forcing
here for
a lift on
Mario.
the command center, and will get killed by the Corruptors. The Ravens and the Vikings come in here as a last-ditch effort, but he just doesn't have anything to attack ground to ground.
Well, it's funny because of all the armors of the Corruptors, they're just not doing much damage without those upgrades, Panda. I mean, we see Vikings taking so much more hits despite the point defense drones, way more than they should.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm just looking at the resources the last tab. This game, that is pretty accurate. Like half the map for half the map. Neither of these players really getting too far ahead. That tug of war aspect.
The interesting thing too was, before that, the resource collection rate, or the resources last tab, was always pretty heavily in favor of Mario. Because he had the more cost-effective engagements, and then when he started incorporating all of these Ravens into his composition, and just lost them continually, we saw it add up.
Yeah, these free units of Slavic just really making the big difference here. Corruptors, Queens pushed across the map. We got a Hellion on the 3rd. I mean, the action is always happening in 5 different places this entire game, I feel.
Yeah. I like how these swarm hosts are being used specifically to just snipe bases.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, why not? The planetary can't defend against it. The supply depots here are useless.
Battle Hellion versus 49 drones.
I think I'd still give that to the Battle Hellion.
Oh, totally. Oh, and here
more Hellions.
More.
Oh man, but you know what? Slavic's not broke. He can rebuild off this.
Oh, yeah.
Mario, despite the fact that he does have command centers, he doesn't have any bases. And he doesn't have the number to long distance mine. 11 workers on the field total.
But at this point, Slavic needs to be careful.
Look,
he really...
look where he's mining from.
Yeah.
I think both these players are kind of at that desperation point, but Slavic doesn't realize that his opponent's a little more desperate than he is.
It's something that... Let's take a look at the unit count right now. 4 Hellions, 5 Vikings, now 3 Hellions, and a Raven. Against 6 Corruptors. I guess he doesn't want to engage until that Corruptor count gets up a little bit higher.
Well, it's funny too, because look at the larva. I mean, there's been no injects going on for the last almost 40 minutes, because Slavic's had his queens with his army, like, this entire game.
Yeah.
But I guess when you've got such a low econ, you really don't need a high larva count, because you're not going to be producing a ton of units.
That's true.
These last few Hellions...
covered for the most part.
I kind of feel like this is one of those moments where Mario, I think he should tap out. He's seen what Slavic has. Slavic hasn't necessarily seen what Mario has, but when you know your opponent's so far ahead, in a game that's gone on this long, I totally understand that it's difficult to just leave.
Yeah. I like the fact that we're seeing Slavic separate his Storm Host now, as he's trying to establish these expansions. He knows his opponent, if he ever gets an army up, he's going to have to attack in one big ball. So as long as he has map control and he can see that coming, then he can have absolutely no problem in splitting his units up like this.
Mario's landing on this base, but the thing is, you look at the resources left in this base, there's like 2 tanks here, and that's about it. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing here for him to mine from. Like, I hate being that Debbie Downer guy, but I'm pretty sure this is just it for Mario. Like, he was just done for at this point, Panda.
Yeah, we should see. I mean, there was that one point in that game where the roaches just completely destroyed all of Mario's production, all of Mario's ground production.
Yeah, he never really recovered from that. Mario sending his factories out to scout, kind of do it again. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. The thing is, if Mario had shut that down and not let that happen, this game could have been very different. Because there's that 10-minute lull where he didn't have mass tank and mass lure. Yeah.
Yeah, he couldn't focus on making units, he just had to focus on getting his production structures have add-ons.
That is like the biggest tear and weakness. I mean, like, even if they got the best economy in the world, you take out their production structures and they're kind of screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in Mech and Terran. It's hard enough to reproduce with the build times as it is.
Oh man, this is stubborn at its best. Look at this, like, the Helen Killer SCVs, I guess. Or sorry, not Helicar, and Frank SCVs, I should say, hiding from the Nazis here in the corner, just hoping to God Slavic does not find him.
Where is... Oh, we see the lone command center on the map. Once Mario loses this, he literally has to have a long distance mine. He cannot afford to continue to mine in an actual expo with his orbitals floated up. And he at one point had 10 orbital commands on the map.
Yeah, he's just lost and trying to take this specific base over and over and over again. But you know what, Slavic's mining from the other one, he really doesn't care. And Daybreak is one of these few games... Actually, you know what, I do want to harken on this. Okay, this is the GG thrown out, but... Slavic, every game that you cast with him in that show match, this match here today, Slavic really likes these long-ass games, man.
Yeah. He gets put in the situation too. Although there was a period of time where he committed to Swarm Hosts after actually having, like, he got a critical mass and he could have used that to switch into Broodlords and end the game. And he chose to prolong it a little bit by going for additional Storm Hosts in the hope that he could actually kill his opponent without like really utilizing his Hive tech.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we turn off of this, I'm actually going to rewind to that first Kamikaze. I want to make like a highlight of that. That was actually pretty cool. I think it was like around the 35, 36 minute mark. I'm just trying to find it right now. All I remember is like it happened in the northern part of the map, and there was a lot of secret missions that went down. Oh man, I think I may have broken the replay though.
Oh no.
Trying to fast forward too much. Blizzard, how do I fix? I can't slow
like
down.
That's like the #1.
Oh, white screen.
Oh.
Oh man. Okay, well, thanks for casting with this with me, Panda. Oh,
no problem.
I may have fixed it. Hang on. Nope. Pause. Resume. Pause. Just pause. Oh wow, it paused at the exact part that this is gonna happen. This is gonna be perfect here.